Hello, my name is Natalya Sarkari. I am a marine conservation student at the University of Miami, and I am the social scientist for Empowered Solutions for Environmental Sustainability. So, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Hi, yes, my name is Josh Nelson. I just graduated with my mechanical engineering degree from the University of Kentucky as well. I'm going into a master's study in diplomacy and international commerce. I've been a part of the team for 3 years now. I have just recently been bumped up to the director of global outreach. Kind of goes hand in hand with my master's program, and I absolutely love the project. I love this.
Nice. So, Josh, tell me a little bit about yourself. What are some of your hobbies? What do you do in your free time?
I am, I guess you could say, a jack of all trades when it comes to my hobbies. I like to do just about anything, except for running. I don't like to run, but I do go to the gym. I play the violin. I like to paint. I like to read. Go on hikes and either listen to nature, or if I'm driving in a long distance vehicle, listening to audiobooks, podcasts, great music. I love to go out to a bar with friends from time to time. Just a good mix for me is vital, and a balance between personal time, like I said, alone hiking in the woods, and social time with friends and family. Trying to strike a balance in life is very important.
Amazing. So, how are you enjoying this trip so far, Josh?
It's phenomenal. Our hosts here in Zimbabwe and in Bulawayo, they've been fantastic. It always surprises me in a way just how hospitable you can be when you have like guests coming to you, and these guys are amazing. Our hosts in Harare took us into their own home and fed us and took us to the city and showed us some sights and everything and helped us. It was right there with us while we were doing our work. That's just awesome. That's how to be a host 101. I mean, that's perfect, and I can't thank them enough, both in Harare and here in Bulawayo. It's been the same for here in Bulawayo as well. They fed us, they've given us tea and lunch, and taken us to see the city and speak with locals, and take us places that we might not necessarily know where to go, where to see, and who to talk to. And these guys have been perfect at that, taking us there. Amazing. It's a beautiful country too. I have to say, it's a beautiful country.
That's amazing,
culture.
Josh.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you were doing mechanical engineering.
Yes.
So what made you decide to go that route?
Well, I started in aerospace engineering right out of high school, and that was hard. Okay, that was really hard. I got into aerospace because I'm a big space fan. Anything that NASA's done in the past and up till now, we just launched the new James Webb Space Telescope that's spinning back phenomenal images. We have the Parker Solar Probe. NASA's working now on a mission called Dragonfly, which is going to be a drone that lands on the moon of Titan, which is an ice giant, is an ice moon, where they think liquid water is several miles beneath the ice. I can go on and on about this, but I got into aerospace, didn't quite make it through the program, took a few years to find myself, and then really hit my stride when I came back to do mechanical engineering here at the university. I like to solve problems, I like to work hands-on with things, be out in the field, and really just think about how can I leave this world in a better shape, in a better place than when I entered it. And engineering is not just about equations and numbers, but it's identifying the problem and then seeing the different tools that you can use around you and whatever location you're at, and then how can you best use those tools to solve that problem in the way that benefits everybody. So it's more of an abstract sense of engineering than a literal definition of heat transfer or thermodynamics or fluids and equations. So it's more of a, I guess you could even put it into the hobby category as well. Helping others and trying to solve problems that are difficult to solve.
Well, that's a great answer. Thank you, Josh. So how did you first find out about ESES, and what made you think that this was something that you wanted to be a part of?
So I've known the vice president of ESES, Shelby, since middle school, and she's been, I think she was one of the first ones on this program, and so we stayed in touch through the years. And when I came back to finish my mechanical engineering degree here at UK Paducah, she told me about it. I was already kind of aware of this project and that she was able to travel a lot and implement these our processors overseas in communities that really need it and that have a big plastic issue. And so I talked to her a little bit, and she said, "Yeah, just go up and talk to Professor C and see how you can help." And he was gracious enough to bring me on board, and I knew that I had to do my best, not only to represent myself and to represent the professor, but to represent Shelby and some of the other people that I've known in this team who have come before me. So that's kind of how I was able to get on. And I started from the ground and tried to learn everything I could about the process. And 3 years later, I can do it in my sleep. I can solve some of these problems and think about it in my sleep.
Wow, that's incredible that you've been a part of it for so long. So, when you first joined, what was your initial impression of the group ESES, and what was your first impression of the polyfuel processor that we have going on?
Chemistry? As a mechanical engineer, I was like, let me learn the mechanical side first. I was in awe of what they were doing and how they were able to go to all these different places and the work that they had done. But I was a little daunting. It was a little daunting, you know, when you're getting into a new project. So it was a mix of fascination and curiosity to learn, but at the same time, like almost imposter syndrome. Like, do I belong here? Do you really belong? And that's, I think that's something that everybody goes through in their life, is imposter syndrome, wondering that. And the professor even was able to help me get over that pretty quickly. He's like, we all start at the beginning. You know, everybody, some of the best athletes or the best leaders in the world, they all started in the exact same spots. And that was something he showed me and really resonated with me. And so I was like, okay, day one. And yeah, I mean, that really curtailed the nervousness of it and just let the excitement come forward, the passion build and develop. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're able to get past that imposter syndrome. So, how would you say ESES has informed or changed your outlook on the plastic issues in the world, especially in developing countries like Zimbabwe?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, ESES has changed my life, to be quite honest with you, and definitely has enlightened my view on it. You know, where I'm from, we have regular garbage disposal, and some communities even have recycling, so you don't see the plastic issue as much, just because it's constant. Every week it's taken away. You know, your trash is taken away and your yards are clean and mowed and everything. But in developing regions, especially, they don't have garbage disposal. They don't have a lot of the infrastructure it takes to keep their nature and their environment pristine. And so honestly, just coming here and then seeing the massive scale of the problem just in one section of a massive continent of Africa, driving for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers and looking out the window for 8 hours one day, and all I see on the side of the road is plastic trash everywhere. And it's in between, that drive was in between two major cities, in the middle of rural Zimbabwe. So yeah, you don't see that. You don't see that plastic problem in the US, and so you think, oh well, it's just overhyped. It's just this or that, any other excuse to just allow us to not think about it. But seeing it, it's like a slap in the face, like, no, this is real, this is a huge problem. And you kind of start to it showed me the gravitas of the issue that we face, and it truly is one of the biggest challenges humanity faces as a whole, next to climate change. It's truly one. It's up there in that scale. It's a massive problem, and seeing the living conditions that some people have to live in, like beds of plastic, laying down and sleeping in plastic waste. It's terrible. It's terrible. So ESES, that's how ESES has shown me this, and enlightened me, opened my eyes to it. They've allowed me to travel and to come see firsthand just what the rest of the world's dealing with.
Yeah, it's honestly terrible. You had mentioned earlier that you are the global project director.
Yeah,
for ESES?
the director of global outreach.
Director of global outreach. I apologize. So, what are some of your responsibilities for that role?
I am in a transition phase at the moment as we speak here today, as I've just graduated. So I am in the process of passing the torch, so to say, to Ryan, who is excellent, and I couldn't be any more comfortable with passing that torch to him. In a sense of, prior to getting this role, I was running the lab this past year and conducting the research. Now I won't be doing that anymore, so before I could even transition into that role, I need to find somebody who can fill that gap that I'll be leaving. And then as I move forward into this, I will be reaching out and connecting with other NGOs, investors, and even governments to work on the political side and the people side of this, of facilitating the logistics behind allowing not only ESES to operate in these countries, but for the people to operate as well. Producing fuel, typically you need a license to sell and to produce it. So being able to work with different governments and NGOs and to allow the people to use this is crucial. Otherwise, the processors that ESES brings over just sit. So that's part of my role. Another part is finding those connections with different NGOs to partner with. There are several NGOs that are also trying to fight the plastic problem that we have. And so if they're trying to fight it by doing this with this type of plastic and this with this other type of plastic, well, then our processor could fit in as a third or fourth or fifth option, just as a diversification of what they can do, which would then help them be more economically sustainable, because if one of their projects fails, that's not their only project. They have 2 or 3 or 4 different other projects that they can keep going and ways of doing dealing with plastic. And then on the investor side, in this world, everything requires money. You know, it's a plane ticket to come over here, shipping the processors, and we have to be over here to show the communities how to build and operate these processors safely. So that requires boots on the ground, so to say. It requires people to go and do that, and all of this requires money. And there's a lot of people out there in the world that have a kind heart and a good soul, and that want to help the world, but they don't know how. And I mean, like, how are some of these people going to know to Google ESES-Plastic.org? And so that's a part of my role as well, is trying to find those people that don't necessarily know we exist yet, and vice versa. And then bringing it together, working in the government level and in the investor roles and stuff to help bring it together in a symbiotic way with, say, Ryan working in the lab doing the research on how to optimize the processor based on the feedback that we get from the communities.
Yes.
So it's a very symbiotic relationship and a crucial role to fill.
So you had mentioned earlier that everything in this world requires money, which is definitely true. But that also segues into one of my questions. If ESES were to have an unlimited budget, what would be some of the changes or upgrades that you would make?
Unlimited budget. Wow. You could do a lot with an unlimited budget, oh man, you could give everybody in the world processors, you know. But more realistically, that's a good question. That's a good question. Manufacturing at scale. So, when people manufacture, they don't make just, most of the time, especially at scale, they don't make just one backpack, they make 10,000 backpacks. And so, in the manufacturing process, the hardest part isn't designing the product, it's manufacturing it and building each chain of that, where you go from the raw materials to your finished product. And so building that chain takes a lot of energy and manpower and resources. And so once you have that developed, it's good to pump through, make a bunch of them, like 10,000 backpacks instead of one. You're not going to make a whole process just to make one backpack and then turn around and make a whole other process just to make another one, just to revert then back to make the first backpack you made. So if we had an unlimited budget, I would try to develop a way that we can manufacture these processors at scale. Maybe not 10,000 of them, but even if you were able to do, starting off anyways, a couple hundred, you know, you could cut that initial cost. If you could cut that initial cost in half, you know, cut the processor cost in half, I mean, that's huge. It's huge. You're doubling the value of the money that you're getting and the time that you're putting into it. And so, you know, that's what I would do. That's what I would focus on.
That's an amazing answer. Thank you, Josh. And this is the last question I have for you, but I believe it's the most important question. What gives you hope for the future?
The small things, the little details, the life and the joy, the twinkle in the eyes that I see in people here, even at this university that we're at now today. I'm a very optimistic person, and I believe that we can tackle the problems that we face today, despite how immense and insurmountable they may seem. I'm an optimistic person, and I see it in on the plane when a mother is trying to bottle feed her kid, and the kid knocks the bottle out of her hand, and somebody reaches over and picks it up and hands it to her. You know, I see it in the supermarkets when an elderly woman is trying to get the exact change for her groceries, and somebody comes in and helps her, gives her $1, or helps her pick up the change that she dropped. I've seen that a few times. I see it in the kids walking out of schools, giggling and laughing with each other. They're happy. They love life, and that love of life, it's not gone from this world, despite what we may see on social media and other platforms that might suggest otherwise. I always encourage people that life is worth living, and if it's worth living, then it's worth fighting for it. If it's worth fighting for, you know, it's hard to put into words for me. It's something I feel here, something I feel in my heart, my soul, and my bones, and I guess expressing that into words is sometimes difficult. But when you ask me that question, I guess the best answer is all I could do is smile.
Wow, that's
smile.
incredible. So, yes, that was all of the questions that I had for you, Josh. Do you have any questions that you want to ask of me?
You've interviewed several people. And you've asked these same questions.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything that you've seen that maybe some person hinted at and another person hinted at, but nobody necessarily hit the bullseye? Concept and idea in any of these questions?
Well, I don't know about missing a point. I have seen a lot of common threads between people, like for the unlimited budget question. Almost everybody's answer was giving more processors out to people.
So I had a very original answer then. This makes sense.
Almost everybody said that.
That's
a
good
lot
answer.
of people, their first impression of ESES was first being in awe of it and being impressed by the capabilities of what the human mind can engineer. And that was another common thread I saw. A lot of people, they got hope for the future by by seeing how excited people get at the prospect of fixing an issue of this scale, of being able to fix issues in their community and being able to be a part of something that's bigger than they are. That was something that gave a lot of people hope for the future.
That's awesome. Yeah, and hope for the future. You know, you see it in everybody. I genuinely believe you can see it in everybody. Like a beauty lives in every soul, and being able to see that. Why is that not? How is that not worth fighting for? You know, I think everybody in this world would agree that's worth fighting for. And I guess if we had unlimited money, I've got to give a better answer than something that.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I would say, you know, going into the diplomacy side, you know, as we're all aware, lobbying politicians around the world is a thing. If we had unlimited money, I would try to fight the fight on a different front, on the lobbying side, because you know the plastics industries, they oppose forms of recycling, and they lobby against it. They actively lobby against it. It's a well-known fact. It's public knowledge. It's public data. So if we had unlimited money, I'd like to go toe to toe with them, you know, and lobby against it. And say, well, no, here's the data. We've implemented it in real world, and yeah, recycling works. It's a cost-effective, and it's beneficial to the communities, and we've proven that we can make it sustainable and economical and safe for everybody. So I'd go toe to toe with them.
That's a great answer too. Well, if you don't have any more questions for me, well, it was nice interviewing you, Josh, and thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me.